We haven't done much work on the Caprice yet this year. I've been traveling a lot for work, but we've got just one little piece of accomplishment done. I'll show you underneath. The transmission shift linkage works to the column shifter again. And today we're going to change the
water pump.
Yep, we have to switch water pumps. We're going to an LS1 water pump from the truck water pump, along with a spacer to keep it out far enough for the belts to align, and an LS1 intake manifold so that I can get the hood to shut, because with the truck manifold it's too tall, and by the time you cut a hole in the hood of a sleeper car, it's not a sleeper anymore. I'm going to show them the transmission linkage. I should have got a flashlight, but that's the stock transmission Z-bar, I guess it's called. And that's the stock rod going up to the steering column. Basically, we bent that enough that it moves. It might bind a little bit, but it seems to hit every gear. I'm gonna call it good for now. If this isn't good enough, we'll have to move this pivot point back a little bit and probably get a longer, like extend that rod a bit. But for now, that should work. I want to get we already started removing the water pump. So I want to get that and the intake swapped to make sure I can shut the hood. And then I want to get the drive shaft measured and purchased after I know everything mounts. And once I've got that, I want to pull the engine and trans out again and go through my electrical. I kind of want to, I guess it's called integrating with the ECU to the rest of the car, so that I retain all the old functions but get rid of the stock ECU that's just piled up on top of the LS up here. So here's the truck water pump, and there's my LS1 water pump. Came with a bag of thermostat here, and these are the 3/4 inch spacers. That's probably like an ICT billet kit or Amazon knockoff. I don't remember what I bought anymore. To go with that, I've got this LS1 intake manifold. These are returnless rails, so I'm going to have to figure out a fuel pressure regulator. I'm going to have to swap injectors again to the 80 pounders. Need to get my idle air controller and TPS sensor off the old manifold. What else was there to this? I have to rig a throttle bracket and cable to work. This is meant to relocate, I think, the idler pulley. It's been 9 months since I looked at all this stuff. And then the old intake manifold is sitting here, so that's the one I've got to rob my parts off of. Alright, we'll get to it. Alright, the water pump is on. Still got the stock computer mess sitting on top of the intake valley. So I'll grab the LS1 intake and stick that on top and see how it fits. See if the hood will close. Apparently for the accessories that go over here, your alternator and power steering pump and idler, I think I have to cut some of the bracket off to clear the LS1 pump, and then there's a relocator kit for the idler that just moves it over here. So I probably won't get that all done today, but maybe by the end of the 4th of July weekend here. It sits a lot nicer in there. Lots of room above the intake to the doghouse. The throttle cable is just a little short. I think I picked one up out of a pickup or a van or something. Not sure where I even put that, but I've got something for that. So I guess I'll take the hood prop rods out and see if the hood will close nice. I mean, it ought to, right? nice and low. I wonder if I could even use the truck fuel rails. Then I wouldn't have to get another regulator. Lots of room up there now. I think that will be fine. So part of doing this LS1 intake swap is the power steering and alternator bracket for the truck has that idler pulley there, and this part of the bracket needs to be cut off, and you use these bolt holes to mount the relocation bracket. I believe it's those two, and that moves your idler pulley like down here somewhere. And to do that, so that's the kind of trimming that needs to be done. This area here would interfere with the intake. There's the relocator bracket, and I found this on a video from the Howard's garage where he did a 5-3 swap and a Caprice and was able to close the hood. So I'm following what he did, right down to the belt that he used, all the part numbers. If you're listening, thanks for putting all that on the net for me. Alright, we did some cutting with this guy, and I'm surprised the battery held up, but pull that part off and show me. So that's what used to hold the idler, and here's what's left. I'm not sure if I need to cut this rib out, but I think I might do a trial fit and see what happens. There we go. So it looks like it fits, but the intake manifold isn't quite fitting. This bracket for relocating that is, let's see if you can see this. That's the part number. I got it on eBay. Should be pretty easy to find. It's Street Rays. It's the site that it comes from. Yeah, the belt's all wrapped, but the intake isn't sitting down quite right. I think it might be stuck on the 4-port bleed thing that came with my truck engine. I'm not really sure what I'm stuck on, but let's see if I can pull this out of here. How janky is this looking? Alright, so see the front bleed pipe, and then if you follow the tube back, it's got the rear bleeds. Right there and right there. So this is the one that does all 4 corners of the cylinder heads. And it feels like it's crashing into this. That's not crashing into that. I can feel all the way around that oil pressure sender, whatever. Not really sure what else I might be crashing into. There's a tube up here I might be hitting too. That's the outlet for the bleed. It'd be a bummer if I've got to go to the junkyard looking for those again, but oh well. We're getting closer. I believe I've seen people use the truck fuel rail on these LS1 intakes. So here's the LS1 fuel rail. There's the regulator, and it's only got, I mean, one side goes to that rail, the other side goes to that rail, and there's an inlet tube, and there's no outlet. Compared to this guy that's got inlet and outlet tubes here. So there's the regulator, There's the pressure side and the return side. So I might be able to just grab these rails, and then this part of the tube will just stick up really high, but if that clears under the hood, we should be good. Speaking of, let me throw the intake back in and see if this will allow the hood to close. Be right back. We need to hurry. Sounds like the thunderstorm's coming. There it is. All looks like lots of room, except for the might go into the sound deadening mat a little bit, but that should be fine. So I thought I was gonna make some quick content this week and try to get the accessory drive and the intake manifold on this car. And when I was doing some editing, I realized I've got like 3 other little projects I had done that I never edited. So bonus this week after another good year of not uploading anything. Anyway, the manifold didn't fit. I think it's the 4-port steam vent thing that goes on the top from the corners of all the heads. Has a little bleed tube that runs out and you have to figure out where to connect that. So I was going to pull the manifold off, take those out, and just see if the manifold will set down. If it does, I'll have to rummage through my garbage pile and see if I have the 2-port version with the 2 plugs that go in the back. And if I don't, I guess run to the junkyard. Alright, I'll get to it. Let's set down just fine that time. And so I took it back off and stuck the 4-port underneath. And there's an impression from where this was sitting overnight in the foam. So when I line that up, I got contact there and there. So no go on the 4-port. Time to look for the 2-port. So it sits a lot better, but it's still not perfect. It's still rocking on something. Don't know what that is. I can feel the foam underneath squished down a bit. I think it's that harness laying right underneath this boss. So in theory. Pretty close. Maybe that'll get taken out by torquing down the 8-10 bolts that hold it down. Maybe the intake is a little warped. I'm gonna need to go to the junkyard sometime and get the 2-port steam vent for the front only, and the 2 that block the rear. Today's Sunday, tomorrow's 4th of July, so no luck at the junkyard right now. I still have to pull the engine out so that I can more easily get into this stock wiring harness and take out what I don't need and keep what I do still need. I want to keep all of the original functionality of the car. Someday I'll have a drag week car, but I'm going to be one of the slower guys by that time. I guess while I'm out of parts, we'll talk about the lathe. I bought this South Bend lathe used from a guy who had never had it running. Don't know too terribly much about it. It's kind of tough to read some of the numbers on this thing, but I do know it's from around 1944. It's about a 16-inch throw, measured the American way. If you measure the British way, it's like 8-inch, because we had to double that up. So it's got this war production board tag on it. Like I said, it's a South Bend, and I think the bed rails are about 7 foot long. It's probably 4 foot of it useful. between the chuck and the, I don't know, center. Not a lathe guy yet, I'll learn, but I got this phase converter. Some of the buttons don't work. It's stuck at a setting of 50 Hertz, but it was enough to prove out that the thing turns and runs. And doing that, played around with the lever here and was able to get it to auto feed this way and that way, and auto feed this going crossways. Using this clutch, I'm missing a handle, so I just got a nut on there, and I'll probably weld some short bolts around that to make it look more like the original knob that went there. But I thought it was a slick find. It does run and turn. I guess I'll show you. Demonstration's gone great.